Okay, so next one, we're supposed to find the longest word in a sentence. Uh, Write a function that takes a string sentence as input and returns the longest word in that sentence. Assume words are separated by spaces. Okay, so this guy is going to, see, returns the longest word, not the length of it, but the longest word. So it's going to return a string. Let's call this return longest. It's going to take a string sentence as a parameter. Okay, so we'll come down here to implement it. All right, so we have been told that sentence holds a bunch of words separated by spaces. So sentence might look like LOL, hello, let's call it elephant. And I'm going to actually go ahead and put multiple spaces on the end here. So effectively, these words are separated by spaces. So we are going to, whenever we see a space, we're going to reset our current word that we're building. And then we're going to compare the longest. So we're going to need to keep track of two things. So we're going to have an int cur longest length. All right, and we'll start that off at a 0, and we're going to have a string per longest word. We'll set that off as an empty string. Okay. All right, so now we want to write our normal for loop that's going to go through the string. All right, so our normal for loop. All right, so now what we want to do is if, well, we want to loop through that string and we want to be able to look for spaces. So if sentence at the current bucket is equal to a space that is single quote, space, single quote. If I'm looking at a space, that means we're looking at something like this, or something like this, or possibly even in the middle of this guy. All right, so if we're looking at a space, we want to go ahead and look at our current longest word. And if it's currently an empty string, that means we were not currently building a word. We just want to move forward. All right, so if I'm looking at a space and cur longest word, that length is equal to 0, then we want to go ahead and just continue on to the next time through the loop. Because that means that I was not in the middle of building up this word. Let me think about that. Because that guy is going to already have. Let's see. I'm going to create another string per word. We're going to set that guy off as the empty string. All right, so if we're looking at a space and cur word currently has nothing in it, we're just going to continue. Else, if we are looking at a space, presumably we're looking at a space and cur word has something in it. All right, so cur word has something in it. We want to go ahead and ask the question, if cur word dot length, so the length of the word we've been building, is greater than current longest word dot length, that means we have a new longest word. So we'll say cur longest word is equal to cur word. And we'll say cur word is equal to the empty string. We'll just reset the cur word. Okay, but we're only going to do that if it's greater than it. All right. If it's not greater than it, we're still going to reset cur word. We're just not going to replace the current winner. So we're only going to replace the current longest word if cur word is longer than it. All right. That's if we're looking at a space and cur word did have something in it. Okay. Otherwise, we must be in the middle of a word. So what are we going to do? We're going to say cur word is equal to cur word concatenated with sentence at bucket I. So we'll keep building up that word. Then when all is said and done from that for loop, we will go ahead and return current longest word. All right. So as a review, actually, I never even used current longest length. I just worked out the length of the word. So we'll start off keeping track of whatever our current longest word is. I'm going to go ahead and steal this guy as my input for testing in a second. All right, so when we start off, current longest word has nothing in it. Cur word has nothing in it. We'll start looping through our sentence. If we're currently looking at a space and cur word dot length is 0, that means we're currently in between words, so we'll just skip on to the next thing. And keep in mind, if we were dealing with something where there was like 5 spaces in a row, but we were in between words, we would skip through those 5 spaces. Remember, continue skips past the rest of this loop through the for loop and just moves on to the next iteration of I. All right, so otherwise, if we're looking at a space, presumably that is the first space we ran into after we were just building up a word. We'll ask the question, is our current word longer than our current longest word? If it is, we'll replace our current longest word with the cur word, and then we'll empty out our cur word in preparation to build up the next word. If it's not longer, we'll still empty out cur word, and we will just be prepared for building up the next word because the current word did not replace our current longest. You technically did not need an else here. You could have just zeroed out cur word right here, since it happens regardless of whether we're in the if or the else. Okay. Otherwise, what are we doing here? We are just building up our cur word as we're in the middle of a word. Okay, so we'll go ahead and test this. String answer is equal to, we're going to call our return longest, and we're going to go ahead and pass it that string. So in this case, cur longest should be elephant. Right? And we'll go ahead and run that guy. Oh, I don't know why I just wrote elephant there. After I said it out loud, we're actually printing out answer. All right, so there's elephant, our longest word. If I come in here and I'll just put a longer word in there, we'll put some extra spaces on either side just to test. And there's that word as our longest word. All right, so that one was a little trickier. Took a little thought to go through it, but that's a good practice thing for working with the loop and messing with concatenation and that kind of stuff. All right, I'll see you in the next video.